As if a mass shooting and school funding challenges weren't enough for us as a city, in March and April of this year, a new challenge arose as it brought about a global pandemic to which Jersey City was one of the earliest cities hit and one of the hardest cities hit in the Northeast. To date, we've had more than 7,000 cases and more than 500 fatalities. I think it's fair to say that at this point, everyone in our city knows a family that has lost someone from COVID. And as a broader community, we lost some of our best from this terrible virus. Let's just take a moment and reflect on a few of them. We lost Ward D Councilman Michael Yun. He was known for that trademark bow tie, but more importantly, his legacy as one as a dedicated community servant will live on long past him. I'm grateful for Councilman Yun's partnership in our shared efforts to make Jersey City a better place for all. May he rest in peace. We also lost Detective Ray Regalado. He had just retired after 25 years of service on the Jersey City Police Department. He was the chairman of the Latino Caucus of Hudson County, and he helped initiate the Dominican Independence Day celebration in Jersey City. Another example of a tragic loss for our community. We also lost Jersey City International TV and Film Festival President Craig Golitz. He was a champion and mentor for many aspiring film artists with a reputation for helping the Jersey City community at large. We lost Craig, and that's another devastating loss. And then we also lost former Jersey City police officer and Ward F Councilwoman Viola Richardson. She was a fighter for her ward that she so passionately represented, and she was often regarded as a leader in the community with regards to engagement and outreach to residents. She's an example of another fighter for Jersey City gone way too soon. So it's been hard for me personally as well, like many of your families. Beyond losing many friends, this last summer I lost my grandmother to COVID, Elizabeth Fulop. I share that because it's been a tough year for all of us. But as hard as it has been for us, I also know that had it not been for some of the leadership that we work with in our HHS department, Health and Human Services, specifically the director Stacey Flanagan and her team, then the situation here in Jersey City would have been much worse. That's why we were recognized nationally as one of the 5 cities in the country to get the Critchie Foundation recognition for outstanding leadership in our COVID response. Here in Jersey City, we were the first in the state and one of the first in the entire country to implement any restrictions to protect our residents from the virus.
You were the first in the nation to impose social restrictions. So what made you act so quickly where other cities didn't?
Yeah, I mean, we were just following the news all over the world, and we realized that this could get really bad, and we figured that we wanted to be proactive. So we were very, very aggressive and the first to do that. And, it's good to see it happening more on a regional basis now, because I think that's the best way to see results.
I took action in March before anyone in New Jersey. And at the time, I was criticized by some businesses for overreacting. But I think the year has showed us that this was the right call at the time. We were also the first in New Jersey to set up our own municipal testing facilities for residents. We used our own funds and we contracted directly with the labs so that residents can have this resource immediately. And up to now, we've done more than 70,000 tests citywide on our residents.
Jersey's second largest city opened 2 testing sites this week. Jersey City Mayor Stephen Fulop says one site is a drive-through site and the other is a walk-up site, located on either side of the city.
We decided to do these sites because, truthfully, we were struggling with the number of testing that was happening in the state and Hudson County. And we felt that Jersey City needed to have its own testing sites.
We planned ahead also on the PPE front. And we as a city started actually stockpiling equipment in January when the first news began to break of the pandemic in China. And that's the reason why when others were scrambling for PPE, we in Jersey City were the first to implement a widespread PPE distribution to reopen businesses here in Jersey City. Our efforts didn't stop there. We raised millions of dollars from the private sector to support our local residents with relief programs. All of these steps have been good in fighting this pandemic, but I know we can't do it alone as a city government. We need you as a resident to help. That's why I felt it was so important for residents to have the same access to information that I do. And that's why we're one of the few municipalities to implement a detailed and transparent daily dashboard so that residents can see all of our COVID information in a clear and concise way. While our city's COVID response has been strong, with all that said, I still feel the sadness every single day of the personal losses that families have experienced this past year. That's why we'll be moving forward on a plan for 2021 with Friends of Skyway to redo this park next year, with the main feature being a memorial and 503 trees planted for each of the individuals that died due to the pandemic and were not allowed to have a formal funeral. Most of these Jersey City families were not only robbed of their life, but also due to COVID restrictions earlier in the year, were robbed of an opportunity where their loved ones could say goodbye. This pandemic has tested us, and we're far from through it. But I know we as a community are taking the steps that we need to in order to make sure that we limit hardship and allow proper healing.